Hello, this is the RPG Pundit, the final boss at Internet Shitlords, and I was trying to make this video once already, and then I lost I had some little notes here. I had them in my hand in 1 second, and then suddenly they were gone. They just vanished on me, and I had no memory of where I'd put them. And then I realized that unconsciously I just slipped them into the garbage for some reason. I said, okay, these are the notes, all right, and then I threw them away. And I didn't remember doing that like a minute earlier. In my defense, I've only just gotten up, right? And I've been a little swamped, but I don't know. This might be early senility or something. Jesus. Anyway, I got a lot to talk about today, but before anything else, I would like to comment on a couple of important notes. First of all, this Sunday, there's a show of inappropriate characters. And originally we weren't going to have a guest star, but now we are. And it is going to be a doozy. You do not want to miss this. It's going to be someone big, and it's going to be very topical. And you definitely want to save the date, Sunday, 7:30 Central. Big guest star, okay? So keep an eye out for that. Second, The Invisible College, thank you to everybody who's been purchasing it. It is now a silver bestseller. It's doing really well, and it just keeps growing. So I wanted to thank everybody who's picked it up so far. And if you haven't picked it up, check it out. The Invisible College, modern occult conspiracy OSR gaming. With magic based on something different than either the typical D&D or Lovecraft, right? It's neither of the two. This is actually based on actual hermetic ideas. So be sure to check it out. Okay, so getting right to the point, because I really do want to try to not make this too long a video. I already mentioned briefly in my last video about how Jeremy Crawford has announced in an interview that essentially everything that's not from 2014 onwards, excuse me 1 sec. Everything not from 2014 onwards does not count as canon, according to him. Sorry, I'm just trying to prepare my mate here, and I gotta rinse out things a little bit. You can tell, I really am high quality production values here. I'm doing the wash while I talk to you guys. All right. I had a lot of people talking about this after the video, and people were talking about, the motivations for it. Some people didn't actually agree with my position that this is a year zero, right? I'm going to break down. Basically, there's 4 reasons why Wizards of the Coast, and probably pushed directly by Crawford, why they would be doing this. I didn't put enough mate in my gourd. All right. So the first reason, very obviously, would be just rampant virtue signaling, right? There doesn't have, sometimes you shouldn't necessarily look for higher reasons than just stupid malice, right? Because the D&D SJWs know that saying, well, everything from 1974 to 2014 is now erased. It doesn't matter anymore. It's not important, and it doesn't count. It's just a virtue signaling statement, right? That will be personally offensive to everybody who actually enjoys D&D. Basically, everybody who actually enjoys D&D, and certainly to everybody who was a player before 2014. So this is them creating a needless virtue signaling litmus test, a division, right? Where if you don't applaud, oh, hail the new era, then you are one of the bad people, right? And it allows it says, we support the youth brigade, right? We're part of the ones that we only care about gamers that joined after 2014. And so that could certainly be motive enough for them, right? To just make it about basically offending people they hate, which is you. They hate you. If you're watching this, unless you're watching this because you hate me, odds are you're watching this and they hate you, okay? So that might be, simply enough, the real reason why they've done this. It doesn't necessarily have to always be an Agatha Christie mystery, right? But there are other possibilities. So the second one is the one that I pointed out, which is the idea that what this is doing is essentially creating a year zero scenario, right? Year zero is famously, I mean, it's based on the nowadays the statement made by Pol Pot when he took over Cambodia and he basically forced everyone out of the cities and started to murder anyone wearing glasses or anyone who could read, and said we're recreating society. So this is year zero. This is the beginning of the new era of man, right? The new man, the new communist man. And basically year zero was met with the erasure of every aspect. The goal was the erasing every aspect of Cambodian culture and intellectual thought and every aspect of its society until there was nothing left, so that then they could rebuild the glorious pure communism that everybody had always failed to achieve before him. But in point of fact, year zero was only a borrowed term of Pol Pot's. He learned about it from Jean-Paul Sartre, who in turn was talking about the French Revolution. You know, the first year zero was the year zero of the French Revolution. But anyways, that idea to say that, well, you know, all the things that were before us, you know, 2014 onwards, it's okay. Everything before that was bigotry, right? It was bad people who were doing this. It was white supremacy. It was whatever, right? They'll make up all this stuff. It was hatred and misogyny and homophobia and whatever. And so that has to be erased because there's no way to purify that. They just need a clean slate, right? And I still think that's probably the most reasonable answer, but I am willing to accept certain other ones. And there are two other very important possibilities besides the two I've just talked about, which could certainly also work in tandem. Like, none of these points are exclusive, right? Because we know for sure number one is true, right? Number one might be the only one that's true for all we know. But you can certainly have number one and number two together, right? Like they could be doing it just to make a virtue signaling litmus test and to piss off all the people they hate, like, you know, to attack the fans, like, you know, like Kevin Smith did with He-Man, right? It's like he did it to attack the fans. That was it. That was his goal. And you know, so that could be true, and it could also be true that they're doing it at the same time to attack the fans and to create a year zero. The third thing, interestingly enough, in the interview, and this is the thing that leads me to think about this, in the comicbook.com interview that Crawford did where he announced this year zero scenario, he made a specific comment about saying that, well, the novels shouldn't influence your game, you know? And that sounds, you know, in point of fact, okay, right? Like, I mean, one of the things nobody liked, I think one of the things that caused the death of TSR was when you had TSR worrying more about the novels than about the RPG. And so they were releasing novels just about every month. And then immediately every RPG product, every setting had to adapt itself to that, right? Like, one of the worst examples was Dark Sun, where after the end of the Dark Sun trilogy of novels, it basically screwed up that entire setting forever, right? Like, there's no going back from that, right? Like, it was a terrible idea, and you know, almost all the time these plot lines were sort of cataclysmic. It involved other people, you know, NPCs being heroes, so your PCs felt like they couldn't do anything about it. So yeah, nobody wants an RPG, a D&D setting run on novels. No. But I'm thinking, you know, well, what novels are we talking about? Because so far no novel has influenced Wizards D&D. certainly not fifth edition. You know, like, they have made a couple of novels, but they had no connection with the setting the way the old TSR did. So why would Crawford even bring that up? And that leads me to my third possibility, which is completely speculative, but I mean, well, no, it's only semi-completely speculative, because we know that they're putting their toes in the water of making novels, right? So we know, for example, that R.E. Salvatore is doing a new Drizzt novel. And so we know also that in theory there's going to be these Dragonlance novels coming out, even though there was a whole lawsuit associated with them. Ah, there we go. Here's some yerba mate. And we also know, hang on, I'm going to move that over here. I don't want it to block the invisible college. There we go. All right. So we also know that that they're making. They've been talking more about this sort of stuff, and that part of what they wanted to do, we already know that the R.A. Salvatore novel, the new one, is going to basically change the Drow completely. And so, in fact, I suspect one of the reasons why now was the moment for this declaration. What are you doing, Meatball? Meatball, don't disrupt my video here. Okay, behave. All right. One of the reasons for this declaration of a year zero, I think, is because they're actually worried about changing the canon of the novels. Okay, because I think that the new novels, starting with this Drizzt one, and other ones as well, maybe not the Dragonlance, I don't know, but other ones that they're planning to release now. I think they're going to make some kind of big move into this. And when they do, they don't want to have all the previous canon of the Forgotten Realms or of Dragonlance or of Ravenloft or whatever they end up doing, right? I wouldn't be surprised to see some kind of a Ravenlofty novel. And they're going, and what they want to do is remake them. So, you know, all of them are woke world too. And so, in fact, Crawford is talking about RPGs, but what he's really got on his mind are the novels, and how he wants the novels to have a totally different... Are you stepping on? Oh, no, she's not. Okay, I was worried for a moment. She just, like, sat on the yerba mate. So, he's worried about these novels not, you know, basically violating canon of the past novels. And this is a preemptive strike. And I think that that's certainly a possibility. And then finally, there's one last possibility, which I don't think is out of the question, but it's only really a matter of knowing, like, the question is, how much power do the SJWs have in Wizards now? And we know that, you know, Mike Mearls isn't really involved with D&D anymore, directly. He was replaced. The guy who replaced him has said and done almost nothing in the public. Now, that could mean that he's really being very smart, and he's saying, you know, this isn't what we should be focused on. But then if that was true, why wasn't he shutting down the likes of Jeremy Crawford, right? And all the other little people that have come out to talk about the wokeness of the last two products, right? And the upcoming one, Strixhaven or whatever. That's not happening. So what I think is that, in fact, the new guy, I think it's Winninger is his name, right? He's basically the one that did that superheroes game from the 90s, but I think he's basically been isolated, and he's like a figurehead, you know. He might not be a very long-lasting boss there, and I think it's that right now there's a power struggle going on, and there's a push to get a really true ardent SJW figure in there. And I think that part of it might be that there's a power struggle going on within Wizards between Crawford, who is obviously, you know, he wants to be the SJW head of Wizards of the Coast and the de facto head of Wizards of the Coast. But he has a problem, right, which is that he's a white male. And this is something that I think he's at risk of having missed the boat, right? Because now he's no longer, you know, he gets to join us on the wall too, right? liberals will also get the noose, as the old revolutionary saying went. So I think that there's probably somebody else in there who has some kind of demographic advantage over Crawford and is fighting for that number one spot. And I think that right now they put in the Wininger basically as a compromise candidate, you could say, as somebody that, because they didn't want him. They didn't want someone in-house because the in-house was too divided. But I mean, I suspect that one way or the other, whoever does end up in charge of Wizards, if there's another shift in who's in charge of Wizards, is going to be an SJW. And when they do get in, they're going to probably want to make a 6th edition of the game. And so the last thing that I think is part of this reason for them abandoning the canon is that this is kind of meant to be a sort of preventative, a preliminary move, let's say, to the creation of a new, very radically changed 6th edition, right? Which will keep with this consistent model of the odd-numbered versions of D&D suck. But they might not call it 6th edition. They might just call it like revised edition. They might even just claim it's the same. They just say Dungeons and Dragons, and they say, well, we've updated the rules, right? But this is the same Dungeons and Dragons, even though it won't be. It won't look anything like it, right? It'll be something radically different. A lot of the rules, maybe the basic rules of 5th edition, a lot of those will stay the same, but you'll see very significant changes in terms of the vast edition of stuff that is about, SJW propaganda, woke indoctrination, and the removal of anything they consider even slightly problematic, right? That they've declared to be that, right? Probably with some new mechanical rules that are meant to restrict the independence of people at play. Right? I think that they'll probably try to find a way to suggest that, they'll definitely try to remove some of the power of the DM, because that's always step number one in the SJW playbook. Anyways, but the point is that also they'll want to be able to claim that, it's always been this way, right? So they want to get rid of. They're going to get rid of all of that, and they're going to get rid of all of the canonicity of the setting as a part of being able to say, that's not how it is now, right? The majority population of Kryn have always been tabaxi, right, or something like that. So that's how they're going to try to do it, That's going to be the strategy. So I think that's everything for today. I just wanted to clear that up. I might do one more video before Sunday, but again, if I don't, on Sunday, check out Inappropriate Characters. You're not going to want to miss this. 7:30 p.m., okay? It's going to be a big one. And if you like this video, please share it. Please hit like, subscribe if you haven't subscribed yet. And if you want to support me in my work and in my continued struggle against the woke grifters of D&D, then you could definitely support me on Patreon or PayPal. I've got links to those in the description, but what I would most recommend is you pick up my products, because if you're a gamer, if you're not a gamer, sure, send me Patreon money, But if you are a gamer and you haven't already bought every single one of the products I've made, then by all means, you should buy my products, because you're going to get stuff that you'll be able to use, right? Whether it's like deeply historical and mythic gaming like Arrows of Indra, gonzo, wacko fantasy like World of the Last Sun, or occult modern adventure like The Invisible College, full of modern magicians and secret agencies and mechanics for taking over, I don't know, the National Rifle Association or the Boy Scouts. So there's all kinds of fun stuff in The Invisible College. You know what? I should mention also, there are I don't think I'll put the link in the description, but you can find them on Amazon, or I tweeted about them. The publisher of Invisible College has now done an Invisible College t-shirt. So if you want to show off your membership in the Invisible College, you should go look for that. It's on Amazon, the Invisible College T-shirt, or check it out in my Twitter feed. I tweeted about it just recently. If you're a T-shirt wearing type, I'm not, and if you're the type that wants to show off being in the Invisible College, I do a little, but not on a T-shirt. But if you like that sort of stuff, there it is. Anyways, just getting my products gives you something, and it's like you're, buying me a meal or buying me a coffee, depending on what product it is. And if you don't have a lot of money, check out the RPG Pundit Presents PDF series. There's 105 issues of it, and each issue has something useful for OSR, D&D style gaming, whether it's from historical authentic fantasy all the way to wacko gonzo fantasy like The Last Sun. And they cost anywhere from 99 cents to $4.99. And you'll get something out of it. Find the one that you like, buy it, and then you're supporting me and you're helping yourself in your gaming, and that's what I like. Once more, share the video. Talk to you guys soon. See you on Sunday, if not earlier. Currently smoking Mastro de Paya Rhodesian plus Argento Natural.